welcome to the Artist Behind the Music Canadian Country Series. Today we have Brien joining us from Calgary, a fellow Calgarian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Crystal.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you and hear more about your music and what you've got going on. Today's an exciting day, releasing new music, all that good stuff. So let's kind of dive in and tell me a little bit about what got you started in music and what your inspirations are that you draw from that kind of led you on your path to pursuing music as a life experience.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a bit of a weird story, actually. So where I grew up, I grew up about 45 minutes outside of Vancouver in BC, and to be honest, like everyone I grew up with, it wasn't much of a country music scene. So my country music background always stemmed from, like, I've got 6 brothers, and my dad is heavy, always has been into country music. So it was kind of like when I was on my trips with my dad and my brother, it was always country music, and then I would go back to kind of hang out with my friends, and it was kind of not as country, right? So that was time with dad and at home and stuff, and on the road with my brothers, and that was always when country music was kind of always playing. And then I was actually a high level athlete until I was 18, and then I got into a pretty bad accident that ruined my sports career. So I was kind of lost for a couple of years there, and then my dad offered me a job for our family company. There's a position that became available in Calgary, so that would have been when I was 21, and kind of just moved out and never looked back, and it sort of let the country in me blossom. Yeah.
Welcome to Calgary, Alberta.
So it turned into wearing boots once a week to wearing it just felt like home to me as soon as I came to Calgary. So is a little different than living in the Lower Mainland, and I've loved it ever since. And I kind of just started playing guitar, I guess, when it would have been 4 or 5 years ago now, just because I'm always in the outdoors, and I love hunting, fishing, camping, all that sort of stuff. I live in the outdoors basically when I'm not working. And I just sort of said to myself one day, it'd be really cool is if I could, play guitar and strum a couple tunes around the fire. So I think it was honestly after that weekend, I went and looked into Long and McQuaid, some guitar lessons, and just kind of started rolling from there until nobody really knew that I sang, including my parents, until probably 2.5 years ago. I decided to put my voice out there, and just had a whole lot of positive feedback, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So.
That's so cool. You hear so many stories, and it's like, oh, I started singing when I was a kid, and I was performing and all these things. And I just love hearing stories of people that later in life, they discover their performing calling. And the fact that we can go after things at any point in life is always very cool. I do have a question. 6 brothers. How did you guys all get around?
Oh, we had
a motorhome or a massive van?
Classic Dodge Caravan. I think I was on the roof half the time. But yeah, we always call my mom Superwoman, because literally it was like, and all of us, like, we all played 3 or 4 sports. So I just remember, and I'm the second youngest, so I remember being the first one dropped off at all these, and we would just be crammed with all of our gear, and there actually was a rack of football gear or baseball gear on the top of the van, and it's like, okay, A, B, C, D, drop off, and then pick up, and then hit McDonald's drive-through for 100 chicken nuggets or something after.
Pass the box around.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was I wouldn't have it any other way. It was awesome growing up. Definitely interesting at times. So
yeah, no, it would be. That's a full house for sure, but always fun. I always wanted lots of brothers and sisters. I have 2, but I've always wanted 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Yeah, it's like you can have your own football team. You're good. Well, that's awesome. So let's go back to music. What was it that really inspired you to start recording music and start pursuing music, besides just playing in campfires, and start recording and putting out to the world and releasing?
Yeah, so after a couple of years of just playing around campfires and really just singing to myself in the truck a lot, I was my biggest fan, and that's where most of my work was done. Is I drive back and forth between BC and Alberta all the time, so it's basically hours of me just singing to myself. So that kind of I just really started to develop a passion for it, and started getting interested in the songwriting thing. And it was for they have something called Rock and River Music Festival out in Merritt, BC, and it's an awesome festival. And I saw a call on Facebook one day, and it just said submit a video if you want a chance to play on stage. And I said, you know what? And I sit there and hum and hawed for couple of days, and I just decided I'm going to go for it. So I posted a video on Facebook, and it just opened a lot of doors for me. Next thing you know, I had a couple songwriters reach out to me, and guys and girls actually have been just very instrumental in moving me along, and always in my corner. And it's just been a really cool community to be a part of. And that sort of took off, and I just started writing a lot. And then yeah, it came to the point, I guess, last year, I said, you know what, I'd really like to get some music out there. So got hooked up with a producer, and got a couple tunes, and put out my first 2 tunes last year. Didn't go to radio, but I just got some content out there to Spotify and Apple Music. And now I'm set to release, actually today is the release day for my next single. That's going to be my first one to Canadian country radio. So.
Woohoo! Excellent. That's so exciting. So exciting. I love new releases and new music being put out there. And it's so fun to watch the process of songs evolving from something just acoustic and stripped down to, something that's blasting on the radio. It's always a fun, fun transition to witness and watch. That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about fear and the first few moments on stage when you're standing there and everybody's staring at you, and you're up there with your guitar and a microphone, and the fear starts to move through your body, that nervous energy. How do you move through that quickly so that you can start and put on a good show?
Yeah, so for me, my day job, for me, it's all about being personable. So I hop on stage, and to help me shake the fear a little bit, because when I first get on stage, I'm not always feeling the most loose. So I usually like to connect with the audience a little bit, and just maybe crack a joke, or conversation, just keep it fun up there. And once I say my piece for a minute or whatever, I start to feel a little loose up there, and that's when I really get I feel better about diving into the music, because I feel like if I just started singing as soon as I got up there, sometimes I'm not the most relaxed, and I feel like the audience can feel that. So
totally. And it's interesting that you're saying that talking and communicating is such a big part of who you are and what you love doing. And that's how we really zone into our authenticity, is when we know what we're good at, when we know what we love, when we know that what lights us up. If we can connect to that and use that as a tool to move through fear, I think is really great advice.
Yeah.
Really great advice. I can't tell jokes. Telling a joke is more nerve-wracking for me than just having a conversation or being on stage. It's just not my forte, and that's okay. Let's talk a little bit about songwriting. What does your process look like? Do you like to co-write with people? Do you prefer to write on your own? Do you write from stories from your own experience, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of co-writing. I'm still a pretty green writer, so I've got several songs that I've written by myself. But I do enjoy what co-writing brings to everyone brings something different to the table. And I'm told that there's lots of artists that don't like co-writing, but for me, it's just I'm totally open to everyone throwing their ideas into the mix, and picking the best idea and going from there. And there's nothing better than when you're with a couple people, and you just get on that roll. And I really love the aspect of co-writing. So usually I'll bring, say half a dozen ideas to the table, whether it's a melody or whether it's a hook or a song title. And we'll kind of just go through the half a dozen that I have at the beginning of the write, and we'll kind of settle on one that that excites us all, and we kind of go from there. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so interesting. Everybody has a different story and different way of writing.
Yeah.
Which is great. That's what makes us all so unique in the music industry, right?
Yeah.
All doing the same thing, but a little bit differently. What would you say 2020, let's talk about that for a little bit. What was the biggest pullout you had from that year? The biggest personal development growth? I know you released a couple songs last year. You can kind of maybe tie that into the story of, first time releasing music and a pandemic, and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, so it was at the beginning of the year. I was kind of a little bit lost, because I wasn't sure, is this the right time to release music when you can't really go out and be social or play shows or anything like that. So it took a couple months of kind of really deciding whether or not I wanted to. And I thought to myself, you know what? I've been sitting on these songs, I've got them recorded, and I just really want to get some music out there. And it turned out to do great things for me, and it introduced me to some more people that I've been co-writing with throughout the rest of the year. And it was a really good decision. So I mean, I know 2020 has been a weird year, and it's been crappy in a lot of ways. But I kind of like, for myself, it was actually one of my better years. So like,
And
I
don't feel
got
bad about that. There's no guilt attached to that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like people, and obviously there's been its hardships for sure, but for me, like I love the outdoors, and that's where I'm at. That's where I feel at home the most. So I had more time to do that than any other year, because there's not music festivals, there's not shows on weekends and stuff like that, and it just so I really got to relax and unwind on weekends, which I do need for to kind of unwind after my stressful day job. So yeah, it was a really good year for me, actually. And then, like I say, got some music out there, and put my name out there, and yeah, looking forward to 2021, hoping that it's even better than last year. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you think you can pull those tools going forward? Like we talk about relaxing and how a lot of us we had all this time, especially as musicians, constantly playing gigs on the weekend, touring, traveling, all these things. And this past year, we haven't had the opportunity to do that. So we've had a lot more recharge, reset, rest time. And just how do we bring that forward in your eyes into 2021 when things do start getting busier again, and shows come back and all of those wonderful things start returning, but how do we keep that balance of enjoying life and still doing what we love? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I've been sort of pondering that myself, because it's like I've definitely changed my lifestyle around in the last year, but I feel like I'm living my best life right now. And so it'll be interesting to see when things come back, how that's going to affect my lifestyle. But yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, obviously, that's, if you had to ask what my top 5 things that I miss about pre-COVID, live music is right up there. So that's got to be number 1 or number 2, because it's just there's that beats that, and I miss that feeling of whether it's on stage or being in the crowd and watching some of my favorite artists play. Like there's just something about live music and just being around the crowd of people that's all there for the same reason, and everyone's happy and having a good time. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. There'll be challenges going back to
Mhm.
normal. I think it'll take a couple months, if not a year, like a transition kind of thing. And I don't know. That's I've been thinking about that a lot myself, to be honest.
Uh,
So
it's very interesting because I'm finding for me now it's taken me, this long to feel like, oh, it's the weekend, I can relax and
yeah,
not feel guilty about it. And it's just really enjoyable. And I'm thinking, how do I continue this feeling of being able to slow down and relax, but yet still be productive and move forward? So I always like having that conversation with people to see where everybody else's mindsets at around that, because it's been such a transition from our old normal to what it is, and now I think we've just accustomed to this new way of life, and for some it's not ideal, and for others they're loving the space and the time. So yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, that's kind of my thoughts, is when it goes, like, I'd like to find a kind of a halfway point, because it's having this free time has made me realize that maybe I don't want, like, I'm for most of the year throughout the summer, I work 10-hour days and 5 days a week. And then for me to then be playing, say I was originally thinking I'd be playing music Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, now I'm kind of thinking, it's nice to have some of that free time to unwind, and I'm more relaxed than I've ever been.
Yeah,
So I like to find a sort of a halfway point, whether that's just playing once a weekend, or playing every other weekend, and then on my weekends off, I go do my outdoors things, and maybe that'll keep my head a little more clear and in a better place, right?
totally. And when our heads are clear, we're more productive and we're doing
Yeah,
more of what we love, right? So I just think it's something that we all can think about is what do you love in life? What are you loving about right now? What did you love about, 2 years ago? And how can we kind of bring both of those together for our best life?
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I would love to hear you play if you're ready to showcase your music.
Yeah, for sure. Um, So like I said, I have a song that's being released today. It's one that I wrote with actually, you know what? I'm going to play a song first. And a little bit of the background behind this one. I haven't played it for anybody yet, actually, but I wrote it with two guys out of BC, two of my favorite guys to write with, Doug Folkens and David Boris. I'm not sure if you know either of those gentlemen, but just great guys. And they've been two guys who have been very instrumental for my success and for my success, and just putting me in touch with the right people, and always having an open phone policy, so to say, not so much open door anymore, but just if you ever need any advice, don't hesitate to give me a shout, and just neither of them expect nothing back. So awesome guys for sure. But I came to a right one day with this idea of a feeling of every time you go into a small town, and it doesn't matter where it's at. It could be in Saskatchewan, it could be in Alberta, it could be Manitoba, but I get that same feeling every time you're driving into a small town and you see the tiny little general store and stuff like that. And it just puts a smile on my face, just how everything is a little simpler, and you kind of know what kind of town it is just when you first drive in there. So we came up with this song. It's called Something About a Small Town. There's a welcome sign at the county line where the AM station comes in. Just a little map dot, a one-light stop, get me feeling like home again. I know it's been said 1,000 times, probably been used in 1,000 rhymes, but man, it must be true, 'cause I sure feel it too. There's something about a small town, one street drive down, a water tower silhouette every time I roll by, corner store, Coke sign, white church, courthouse steps. I know that every back road got a little bit of soul. Every fence line takes me back in time. Every bonfire, every Friday night. Folks around here, they be living right. Heaven bound, roots in the ground. Something about a small town. And every old house got a front porch. Folks will give you a smile and a wave. It's four-wheel drives and good old boys talking about the good old days. Things just move a little slower, but a place like this will win you over. There's always a helping hand. You're always welcome back. There's something about a small town, one street drive down, a water tower silhouette every time I roll by, corner store, Coke sign, white church, courthouse steps. I know that every back road got a little bit of soul. Every fence line takes me back in time. Every bonfire, every Friday night. Folks around here, they be living right. Heaven bound, roots in the ground. Something about a small town. And they're all a little different, but they're all kind of the same. And once you fall in love with one, you'll know what I mean. There's something about a small town, one street drive down, water tower silhouette every time I roll by, corner store, Coke sign, white church, courthouse steps. I know that every back road got a little bit of soul. Every fence line takes me back in time. Every bonfire, every Friday night. Folks around here, they be living right. Heaven bound, roots in the ground. Something about a small town. Heaven bound, roots in the ground. Something about a small town. Thank you.
You know, it really just paints a picture of a small town. I think just seeing like a dirt road and a little corner store and maybe a river or a lake.
Yeah, that's what, like, I played baseball my whole life, and I used to get to go to all these towns in the States, and I played all over the States, and just, it was like, no matter which state that I was in, there's just that same feeling. You're driving through drive over a railroad track, and here's another little small town that's probably name's not even on most maps, and it's just that same feeling, the same kind of people that you see everywhere, old trucks, and it just really painted a picture for me. So like I said, haven't played that one for anybody yet, so it's fun.
Oh, I love it. No, it's great. And I love stories and songs that where you can really just see the music video or just feel a feeling of that small town. I know that same feeling of just driving through the States, and especially the States because there's just so many small
Yeah.
towns, right? As opposed to Canada, we have to drive for hours to find something new. But I just know that feeling where you drive in and there's maybe a baseball field all lit up. And it's funny you say baseball because that's exactly what I picture when I see a small town, is a baseball field and bleachers and a
Yeah.
corner store.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's
yeah, no,
awesome. What other song you have for us?
yeah, so this is the one that's actually releasing today, so you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music. It's one that I wrote with a good friend of mine, Shard Morrison, who is just an incredible writer and an awesome guy, and another guy who's been there in my corner for me. And just same thing, open phone policy.
Yeah.
So and it's kind of funny because anytime Shard and I get together to write, I mean, we're probably 600 pounds combined, the two of us, and like 12 feet, 13 feet of height. But we always come out with these emotional songs every time that we write. So for whatever reason, it just brings out the soft spot in us both. So
I love it.
so I had this song idea, and it was kind of how, we're thinking about a different way to say take things one day at a time. And I brought this song idea, one sunrise at a time, and Shard just really loved it. So we wrote it, and within 2 weeks, I had already set up recording time at MCC to get it recorded. I just loved it that much. So this one's called Sunrise at a Time. Actually, I'm gonna go half step down here.
Sounds good.
Left the porch light on again, hoping you'll come back home and I'll get another chance to try and make things right. That diamond ring keeps staring back. That question I never asked has a way of weighing on my mind. I remember waking up, you were gone. Waiting on that perfect moment took too long. Every plan I had just went up in smoke. No kiss goodbye, no tear stain, no. Just trying to make it through the night without losing my mind. Where I am ain't where you're at. Can't move ahead, cause I'm looking back on those memories when I got to call you mine. So now I'm taking it one sunrise at a time. While your world's spinning, mine stands still. I still love you, always will. You got a smile that could break a stranger's heart. But now I'm talking to myself instead of you. I hope you're out there making all your dreams come true. Every plan I had just went up in smoke. No kiss goodbye, no tear stain, no. Just trying to make it through the night without losing my mind. Where I am ain't where you're at. Can't move ahead, cause I'm looking back on those memories when I got to call you mine. So now I'm taking it one sunrise at a time. Another sunrise, another cigarette. I realize that I ain't over you yet. Another whiskey, help me make it through, cause there just ain't no forgetting you. Every plan I had just went up in smoke. No kiss goodbye, no tear stain, no. Just trying to make it through the night without losing my mind. Where I am ain't where you're at. Can't move ahead, cause I'm looking back on those memories when I got to call you mine. So now I'm taking it one sunrise at a time. One sunrise at a time. One sunrise at a time.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm excited for that release. It's a great song, and the message, one sunrise at a time, is just a really beautiful way to look at taking it one step at a time, just as you said at the start, but just a different way of kind of imagining time.
Yeah. And as soon as I kind of said that to Shardy, it was like, you know, when that songwriter bulb just hits, and he was like, yeah, we're writing it. Don't even say anything else. That's
Let's just go.
exactly. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. And yeah, you can find it on Spotify and Apple Music, and hopefully make some plays on Canadian country radio here. So
Excellent. Well, I will be sure to have my ear out for it on the radio. That's very exciting. Congratulations on the new release. And thank you so much for joining me on The Artist Behind the Music. I always love to wrap these episodes up with the question, if you had one message to share with the world, what would it be?
I would definitely say, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and show your talent. That's if it wasn't for me just having, you know, kind of getting over that fear of, like, for whatever reason, it was almost like I was embarrassed to sing before I kind of put myself out there, and just that was the hardest part, just putting myself out there. And then from then it's just the confidence builds. But definitely just don't be afraid to take a shot. If it's something that you're passionate about, don't be afraid to shoot your shot.
Well said. It's very important, because if we don't try, we'll never know. And life is for living, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. Well, thanks again so much for being on the show. Everyone, check out his new single, and I can't wait to see what else 2021 brings in store for you.
Thanks so much for having me on, Crystal. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Until next time.